Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SCOOPS VFLW Game Changer Show. I'm your host, SCOOPS, the sole admin of SCOOPS. 6 teams went into the weekend, hoping that they could have the ultimate success. 2 teams are gone, 4 teams remain. The upset of all upsets. The side that has players now injured on the weekend or going into the weekend have a player be signed up to an AFLW club. And that club was Collingwood, and they shocked us all. And they beat and convincingly beat the Roos. Yes, that is correct. The Roos, who have been very good this year and still are a good chance to win the grand final, had been upset by the Pies at Arden Street in convincing fashion from the Pies. I could not believe it. So they go through to a semi-final, just like the Pies and the Roos do, with different equations. We're going to go through all that very shortly. Sandringham, they've been sent packing after they were goalless in their loss to Williamstown, who only kicked 2 goals themselves. And then, of course, we had the Bombers and Box Hill, an elimination final that was one game you did not want to miss, and Owen lived up to all expectations. A thrilling game. They've had some good contests throughout the year, and this one was no different. Box Hill won by a point, and the Bombers have been sent packing after they didn't deserve to make finals at one point. Then they deserved to make it, and then they lost after having a 10-point lead throughout the game, and they lost it. Thrilling game and everything like that. So Box Hill are through, Collingwood are through, North Melbourne are through, and Williamstown have just survived, which means Sandy and Essendon have been sent packing. And that was my prediction that those 2 teams would be sent packing, and I know they have. And then we'll have Williamstown get sent packing very shortly. The race has always been down to 3 all year. It's North Melbourne, it's Box Hill, and then Collingwood for me. But after the weekend, have Collingwood surpassed Box Hill, and have they surpassed North Melbourne? I don't think so. They do it again this week against Box Hill, then I may have them on the top. We'll wait and see. Collingwood will have Box Hill on Saturday. And North Melbourne will have Williamstown on Sunday. Now, in the weird way of how the fixture works, this is how it starts. So North Melbourne were on top. Box Hill were in elimination final, finishing in 3rd. And now, in the semi-final, Box Hill have the second chance, and North Melbourne are essentially a chance to be eliminated. Make that make sense. That's the weird ways and the mechanics of how the fixture and the finals fixture works. And now, if Box Hill win their clash against Collingwood, they'll be going straight to the grand final and skip the prelim. And if they lose, they get a second chance in the prelim. So North and Williamstown is essentially now elimination match, and Box Hill and Collingwood is through to the grand final. So it's a very interesting one to see what's going to happen. But I'm really looking forward to it. But something I'm not looking forward to is the clashing of fixtures. So please welcome the world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. Now, how many times do I have to bring this up? The fixture clashing is crap. No one likes it. People want to go to the games. It seems to be the more I bring this up, the worse it gets. The fixturing people have zero care factor for the fans. Like myself, I wasn't able to go on the weekend because of the stupid fixturing of this final series. Now, I have plenty of other commitments I want to do as well, but I can't be in 5 places at once within a 2-hour period. For example, you have 3 finals, all played on a Saturday. 2 of them are half an hour apart. That is stupid. Then you have one an hour and a half apart from the end of the game. No, an hour after that game's finished, that's when the next one starts. That's a bit better. The 2 finals clashing within half an hour of each other is stupid. And then I thought, well, you've got 3 games. Why the hell do you not put one on the Sunday? I'm like, oh, yeah, well, let's give them an excuse. I'll probably say they want all teams to have the same amount of days of breaks. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not copping that really, but whatever. And then we come to this week's fixture, and they do put a Sunday game on, and they put it right during AFLW games. Like, do they take the piss when they make this fixture? This is a finals matchup we're talking about. We ain't talking about some preseason matchup or intra-club or anything like that. We're talking about a semi-final. 2 semi-finals at unnecessary times. So you got the Sunday game that's going to clash with VFLW games, and then you defeat your own logic. You don't want to play them on Sundays because you want each team to have an equal day break. Then you go ahead the week after and put it on a Sunday. That's just complete stupid management of the fixture. It's as simple as that. And then if you thought that was bad, which that's bad, by the way, that is absolutely pathetic and no excuse to put that on a Sunday. Because you didn't do it in the first week of finals, so when you had more games and you could have spread them out, now you spread it out, but now you've gone against what you did in the first week. Make that make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then you say going into the final series, okay, that each team will play at their home ground. So for reference, Collingwood's home ground is the AIA Centre / Vic Park. Now, they can alternate between the two because they have the ability to. Box Hills is Box Hill City Oval. Williamstown's is DSV Stadium, which is Williamstown's home ground in Williamstown. And North Melbourne's is clearly Arden Street. And where do you think Collingwood are hosting Box Hill this week? It ain't a Box Hill, ain't a Vic Park, and it ain't at the AIA Centre. It's at ETU Stadium, which is Port Melbourne's home ground. Now, last time I checked, you only mentioned a week or two ago that all qualifying finals, elimination finals, and semi-finals would all be at the team that finished on top or the home team's home ground. Last time I checked, that's Port Melbourne's home ground, not Collingwood's. So that is completely ridiculous. That in itself is stupid. That's one component. Then the other component is that it's at 10:05. 10:05! What is this, under 12s? Or Auskick clinics? This, at 10:05, is completely bullshit. It is bullshit. And I want to tell you another reason why it's bullshit. You've got the whole day. You've got the whole day to put this on at 12:05, 11:05, 1:05, 2:30, 2:35, 2:05, 1:35. Now, if your logic was you don't want to clash with VFLW, kudos. But you didn't care for the Sunday game, so clearly that's not what you're thinking about. Because you wouldn't have done that on the Sunday game if that was how you were thinking. Because in the Saturday game, that logic is out the window. So don't give me any of that excuse. So then, to top it all off, you want to know why Collingwood's home game is at ETU Stadium? Because, and I quote, according to the state league's representative for the fixture, I don't know her name, but they said that, get a load of this, they want to make it a double header to the men's game at ETU Stadium between Port Melbourne and Collingwood in the men's. I'm sorry, who asked for that? And you can't call it a double header, by the way, when the men's game's at 2:05 and the women's game is scheduled for 10:05 and that game's going to finish at 12 o'clock. You've got 2 hours in between. That ain't a double header. Now, you're probably wondering why you're getting so worked up about it. I'll tell you why. Collingwood and Port Melbourne in the VFLW earlier in the year played a double header at ETU Stadium. That women's game finished half an hour before the men's game. That's a double header. A double header isn't where there's a 2 hour gap in between. And since when are you catering to the men's league now? And why is it at 10:05? You could play that at 11:35, finish at 1:35, just like you did earlier in the year for a men's-women's double header. So why is it at 10:05? Who asked for this? Who asked for this? Who asked for 10:55? Sorry, 10:05. Who asked for this? No one asked for this. For example, Box Hill people, it may take them an hour to get there. On top of that, and for players, I'm sure they have to be there an hour or 2 hours earlier. So what? They're going to be there at 8 o'clock? Like, this ain't Auskick. No one should be going there at 10 a.m. Nothing before 10 a.m. in terms of being at the ground. That's ridiculous. It ain't going to clash with anything. Number one, this game should not be at ETU Stadium because that's not Collingwood's home ground. It's AIA Centre or Vic Park Or if it was Box Hills, they have Box Hill City Oval. Who gives a shit about, clashing with or wanting to be a doubleheader with the men's? Port Melbourne's ground is Port Melbourne's ground. Collingwood's ground is Collingwood's ground. Box Hill's ground is Box Hill's ground. And last time I checked, the own people that made this decision, the same people that made this decision, said that the home finals for the semi-finals and the qualifying and elimination finals will be at the team's home ground. Last time I checked, Collingwood's home ground is not ETU Stadium and Port Melbourne's ground, that is. Complete and utter rubbish. It's absolute piss take that they're doing this. 10:05, double header when there's a 2-hour gap in between. That ain't a double header. You haven't done it at your team's home ground, and now you've just done all this crap. It ain't a double header. Your excuse is laughable to make it at that ground, and that's not the team's home ground where you said all qualifying, elimination, and semi-finals would be at. The prelims and grand final will be at ETU Stadium, but this is the semi-finals last time I checked. It ain't the prelim. It ain't the granny. So why the hell is it there? Because you don't give a shit. You went back against your own word. And then with these ridiculous time slots, the ridiculous excuse of it being a double header, it's just like, do you seriously care? You're impacting people being able to go. Figure out another way to maximize double headers. And it certainly ain't with a 2-hour gap. No matter what competition it is, who wants to stand around for 2 hours to wait? A double header is back to back, not back to 2-hour gap, then another game. That ain't a double header. So what, we're just going to sit there for 2 hours doing nothing? I know I wouldn't do that. Would you? And regardless, just all the other factors. 10:05, not their home ground, went against their own rules. There's a game on Sunday, yet you wouldn't do it on Sunday last week. When you had more games, you didn't spread them out. Now you've got 2 games, and you've completely separated them from 2 different days. And you've gone against your own rule of playing at the team's home ground in the semi-final round. Completely laughable. It's a joke. It's quite laughable. And I know for a fact, people watching this agree with me because I've heard the feedback and they absolutely hate it that the VFLW fixturing people are doing this and they've shown no care factor for the fans. You want people to go, don't put them at stupid times, put them at the ground you actually said they'll be at. And if you're going to call it a double header, there's no 2-hour gap in between. People will leave. They're not going to stay. Unless you're working for the clubs, you ain't staying. So it's just stupid. It's completely unnecessary. And they need to lift their game. It's pathetic. Hope you all enjoyed that edition of the world-famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. And it was a big one indeed. Probably the biggest one of the year. One of, definitely. Now, on the show today, I'm obviously going through the reviewing the week 1 of finals and previewing the semi-finals. And also I'll be doing some club reviews for 4 clubs, in fact. Geelong, Pacey, Darebin, and the Western Bulldogs. It'll be the other teams over the coming 3 weeks, as I'll have a show after the grand final as well. That's the plan for right now. If you haven't watched the Scoops VFLW medal, please go and do so. It's on the channel. Now, in the next 30 seconds or so, I'm going to mention who won the award. So for the next minute, skip the next minute if you don't want to know who won and you want to watch the show. All right, you've had your chance now. So congratulations to Talia Sanger, who won the inaugural Scoops VFLW medal. An absolute warranted winner, a superstar. Talia Sanger had a great game on the weekend, had 20 disposals, and she's a star in the making and should be on an AFLW list. The deadline is Thursday, which is 2 days from this recording, and nothing's been said for GWS and West Coast who have a list spot open. So bizarre. She's a superstar. Matilda Van Berkel won Most Valuable Player. Paige Price won the Scoops Respects Player of the Year. Amy Trinidad and Talia Sanger won the Rising Star. So, and then obviously I mentioned my All-Australian team last week on this podcast. So congratulations to all those winners. Well and truly deserved. Right. Now, I've added a new award, ladies and gentlemen, and it's as simple as this: the Scoops VFLW Player of the Final Series votes. So this system, how this will work, it's a 10 vote system. So 10 players will get votes. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The player with the most votes at the end of the final series will be crowned the Scoops VFLW Player of the Final Series. Now, I have incorporated this in the AFL over time, so it'll be into the VFLW and most likely into the AFLW this year as well. So the Scoops VFLW player votes for the final series from week 1 will be announcing very shortly, but that's how it'll operate. Just thought I mentioned that now. Let's go through the finals, shall we? Review week 1 of the finals. So, yeah, look, it was a very interesting week of VFLW footy. Sandy were held goalless, and that's just really disappointing for a side who should be doing much better than they did. 0-6-6 to Williamstown 2-6-18. I predicted this. Sandringham have been on the downfall since their injuries have happened, and AFLW players have gone to AFLW clubs like Erica Fowler, Lauren Brazzali. They had some ACL injuries to some of the girls as well. Tash Enwistle went back to Perth, and it went all downhill from there for Sandy. Not for Tash, but for Sandy. And Tash went back to East Freo and was killing it there. And they played in the final series on the weekend, unfortunately lost though, and that they are out. But, you know, it went downhill from there for them because they lost all those talented players. They went on to AFLW lists as well. So I just saw this coming. And Williamstown are a low-scoring side as well. But they just get the job done a lot of the time. And, you know, there was no real standouts. Kat O'Brien and Ash Thornycroft will be retiring at the end of the year. So congratulations to those girls on their career. Obviously, Williamstown posted this on the day of the game. So whenever they're eliminated, that'll be their last game. I thought Ash Thornycroft could have kept playing. She's having a good year, having a lot of tackles. She just said her body can't keep up to it. Same with Kat as well. So on to those two on their career. It's a bit of a bizarre one with the scoreline. Sandy will be really disappointed. Abby Tregellis is one of their better players, along with Grace Hodder, the skipper. And for Williamstown, Ash Thornycroft and Emily Eves as well. So that's how it went. Box Hill 29, Essendon 28. What a thrilling contest. Olivia Manfrey got 2 goals for Essendon, was really good. Lucy Thompson had 20 disposals. Malinkez did really well in the midfield for the Bombers. Al Chasson did all right, but didn't have the impact that she always does. Abby McDonald did well for 17 disposals, but for Box Hill, it's usual names. It's Tess Cattle. It's Emma Junja. It's Amelie Prosser-Shaw. It's Matilda Van Berkel. It's Stacia Stevenson. It's Isla Baldwin. It's Paige Price. Mia Zielinski, who's a late inclusion, did really well on the forward line. You know, it's the same names doing the great work for them. Gabby Collingwood had some good moments as well. So, you know, they're just doing what they have to do at the moment, Box Hill. And they just got through. It looked like a few times they were going to lose it. They're not by a point of a minute to go, and they just controlled it in the last minute. A shot clock thing, you know, it's annoying when it goes out of bounds or there's a ball up, the clock should stop. That's still something that doesn't help make me happy, the clock doing that. A great win for Box Hill, absolutely warranted and well-deserved. Now, the last game to go through was North Melbourne and Collingwood. North Melbourne 32, Collingwood 45, Collingwood by 13 points. Taylor Christensen's last goal was a big moment in the game to put it back to 13 points or something like that, and that got them the win late. There was about 6 minutes to go. If the clock not stopping, they were going to win from there. Stella Reader, 19 disposals. She was stellar again. Nike DeJock kicked a goal and like 14 touches, was good. Alana Barber was really good. Made it to Cosmo, had solid numbers for her standards, though it was a bit below form, but still was really good, to be honest. But yeah, it is what it is. North Melbourne get a second chance against Williamstown. For Collingwood, Tale Sanger was really good. Millie Peck was amazing, kicking four. Courtney Jones played a part despite not kicking a goal. And yeah, Erin McKinnon did well on the ruck against Kate Reynolds. Both former AFLW players, and Erin probably won the battle there with Mackenzie Bourne helping out in the ruck as well. But yeah, that's how the final series went. You know, Collingwood were really good from the start. And Box Hill going both ways. Olivia Manfrey, when she got 2 goals in a row in one quarter, I thought that was it. I thought they were going to win. And then Box Hill hit the front when I next looked. And, you know, it is what it is. And they won by a point. Collingwood are through. North Melbourne are through. Box Hill are through, Williamstown are through, Sandy and Essendon are a Riverdirty. They're out. So there you go. Now, please welcome my Scoops VFLW Player of the Final Series votes. The Scoops 2025 VFLW Player of the Final Series votes. So it's not individual games. I'm not giving 3, 2, 1 for each game. It's just overall for the round, who I think the 10 best players were. All right. So let's talk about it right now. So 1 vote, Emily Eves from Williamstown. 2 votes, Stella Reid, North Melbourne. 3 votes, Lucy Thompson, Essendon. 4 votes, Jess Matten, Box Hill. 5 votes, Emily Prosser Shaw, Box Hill. 6 votes, Tess Cattle, Box Hill. 7 votes, Matilda Van Berkel, Box Hill. 8 votes, Talia Sanger, Collingwood. 9 votes, Alana Barber, North Melbourne. And 10 votes to Millie Peck, who was simply phenomenal with her 4 goals. So these are the votes after the week 1 of the final series. Now, you're probably wondering, how do you win the award? Plain and simple. You have the most votes. So, for example, Lucy Thompson's the only one on this board that won't be able to poll any more votes for the season as Essendon are out. There was no Sandringham players in this list. So every other name on here can still mathematically win the award, as they are all going to be playing this week. But some players' teams will be out, but can they still poll in their losing game? They could, because Lucy Thompson just polled in the game that they lost. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, Al Chaston was really stiff. I thought Malinkes was stiff as well. Olivia Manfrey was considered as well for the Bombers. Grace Hodder was really close. In fact, I had her in at one point, then I had to fit Stella Reid in. So she got put out of the votes. I was going to have the team, but out of the votes. No team of the week, because I just feel like after this week I wouldn't been able to do it. So I just thought not do it for the whole final series. But all those names on the screen would have been in the team of the week, along with Grace Hodder, Olivia Manfrey, and the ruck would have been Paige Price as well. So there you go. You get a rough guide who it would have been anyway through these votes. So who will win the inaugural Scoops VFLW Finals Player of the Year? We'll have to wait and see. But they're the votes. So there you go. Now, let's now recap the 4 clubs' seasons. My Scoops season reviews. So, for Geelong, they had 3 wins. They finished second last. They had 12 points. Their wins, were interesting. They had the last win of the season by a point over Darebin. They beat Casey as well. So, they had a win over Casey, and there was another win along the way. And, I thought they showed some fight against Collingwood at GMHBA. At Deakin Uni late in the season. It was just a last quarter fade out. A game against Sandy, in Sandy, not in Geelong. They were destroyed it in Sandy. By Sandy at Deakin. They were all right against Sandy in Sandy in the first 3.5 quarters. They were leading the last quarter, then Sandy took over from Sophie Locke. Who else but Soph? But overall for the year, I thought Abby Vaffel played really well in the midfield, as did Mika Morrissey in the midfield. Hayley Peck in the ruck was amazing. Jemima Woods up in the 4 line mainly was a great acquisition for them. The former Richmond AFLW player who may be on the radars come the end of the season. And Elise Cook, a young player in the halfback line, wore number 80. I thought did really well. She took some kickouts, in particular the Sandy game in Geelong that I was at, and played her part, I thought, throughout the year. She had some good numbers throughout the season. So credit to her for the work she put in. Probably a bit of a surprise packet for this season of the younger crew, besides Mika Morrissey. I thought was one of their better young players at the club. So that's Geelong's review. For Casey, they had 2 wins. They were last on the ladder. I thought they had a really terrible season. They had one of those wins against Essendon with all the AFLW players, so I don't really count that. And then they had a other win as well. Meg McDonald was good in their midfield. If anyone was going on an AFLW list from their VFLW side, it would be Meg McDonald in their midfield, a good player, a leader, had a really good season, probably averaged around 16 disposals, always gets a lot of clearances and tackles. A really underrated player in the competition, not just a Casey, is Meg McDonald. Lauren Jatsiak in the ruck was a Melbourne train-on player in the AFLW, played in their intra-club when I was there as a full-back, which I found a bit bizarre. She's a ruck. But in the VFLW season, she was terrific, and is clearly one of their better players. And same with Delaney Madgen, who played mainly in the back line, shifted forward one game, kicked 4, and didn't really score any more goals after that. So one standout game, I believe that was the game they won as well against Essendon. So, Delaney had a good game that game and had a pretty consistent year as well, in particular in the back half of the season. For Darebin, they were finished 8th with 7 wins, which is really good for their confidence going into next season, as they just missed out on finals, I believe, last year as well. So, their season was okay, but once Lulu Beattie left, their team just went down and down and down, as her and Ange Gokus and Alyssa Misford are their best 3 players by the length of Flemington Straight. They had some really good wins, but they beat a lot of the bottom teams like Carlton and Geelong and Casey and the Bulldogs as well, I think, as well. They had a close game with Sandringham. They beat Collingwood early in the year, which got people thinking, wow, from Monique Di Matteo, who kicked a late goal on the siren effectively and went on the game. They got them their confidence for the rest of the year from that moment on. They got embarrassed by the Bulldogs in round 1. For the first quarter, it was like 5-0. They were chasing tail from there, but they were right after that, because I was at that game, at the end of that game. So they did well in the other 3 quarters. But Lulu Beattie, once she went to Richmond, Darebin kind of went down a little bit. The pressure was on Gokus and Misford to step up, and both those girls did. Ange Gokus, though, she's 38 years of age. She can't be doing it all the time. You've got to rely on other players to share the load. And Alyssa Misford did do that in the midfield, a powerful mid, kick some goals as well. But the other players need to step up, and they need to recruit well going into next season. And finally, the Western Bulldogs. 5 wins this year, 9th place, just not good enough. Would you believe? See, the tactics of them using AFLW players does not work. You were 0-5 at one point with AFLW players, Reese. 0-5. End up being 1-6, and you're 1 kick away from being 0-7 with AFLW players, which just goes to show you that Bulldogs aren't that good. They had a mass exodus at the end of last year. Sarah Skinner back to Tassie. Jamie Henry back to Perth. Dom Carbone left them to go to the Pies and is their captain now and was your captain. You lost Talia Pulcino, who just left completely. You lost other players, good players as well. You didn't recruit much. That's on the coaching staff and the list management staff in the VFLW competition. Just as simple as that. They need a lot of change. I've been saying throughout the year, changes need to be made. The coach needs to change. All the assistants need to be changed. List management needs to change. They need to clean out completely. Now, last year, Marley McLeod was one of your best players in your forward line, and she played on the wing. And she had some good games, and that's a credit to Marley. But she is a forward. You were really light on in the forward line. Play her in the forward line where she should be playing, and she will succeed the most in. And she proved that last year. Tamsin Crook, a really good key defender. Really good key defender. Really, really good key defender. All Australian level caliber key defender is Tamsin Crook. You put her forward late in the year against Port Melbourne, which I was at. She had a good game. The stats may not have shown it, but she was really good and impactful. Kicked a goal, 6 disposals, like 4 marks. But shown signs that she could play there. And she played really dominant in that game on Maggie McKellar, who's great for Port Melbourne. And had a good game herself that day, might I add, Maggie McKellar. But you went against that, and you then put her back in the back line for the last game or 2 after that. Like, make that make sense. It worked as a forward. Why put it back? Like, seriously, just these random moves. Change has got to be made there. And they were, realistically, on expectations, the worst team for this season. Look, Darebin, Carlton, Casey, and Geelong, no one expected them to do anything. So that's no shock where they finished. But Bulldogs have got high expectations now. See, I have them not making the top 6, and people crucify me for it. Well, where are those people now? They embarrassed themselves against bottom sides. They got absolutely torched by Geelong late in the year. At GMHBA. No, not GMHBA. At Deakin Uni. You shit the bed. You got a complete reality check. You waltzed into that game thinking it was going to happen, and Geelong said, not on my watch, thank you. And they absolutely embarrassed the crap out of you. And that was a reality check. I thought that might wake you up and go, okay, shit, okay, we're not that good. We need to pull our head up, pull our head in, and you didn't. You got even worse. You got lucky against Port Melbourne, but credit to you. But if it wasn't for Maggie Gorham and Cleo Butterfin in that game, you probably weren't winning that. And Hardingham had good numbers as well. And let me guess, all of them are A4W players, Reese. There's my point. Don't have them, you're not that good. And you weren't even good with them in there. You only just won that game because of Maggie Gorham's insane game in particular. Cleo was good and Keely were all right. But Maggie Gorham was fantastic. She's a good player for the Bulldogs A4W side. And I don't know why she was playing VFLW to begin with. He didn't play that practice match in Perth that weekend as well, which is bizarre. And the other practice match, which is confusing. Why? Really confusing. And you only scraped over the line there. And Port Melbourne had a few chances late. And they didn't get it. They hit the post. You were a few centimetres away from losing that game. I remember the Port Melbourne player who hit the post. Might have been Kate Adams, I'm not sure. You were centimetres away from losing that game. Legitimately centimetres away. If that goal goes in, you lose. And would have a record of 0-7 with AFLW players in your team. It's as simple as that. Really bad year from the Bulldogs. They need a big clean out from higher ups, list management, the whole lot in the VFLW program. It's just as simple as that. Right. Now, and also, Sarah Sinetti had a really, really good year off the halfback line. Was in my All-Australian team. She had a terrific season and absolutely warranted that. She probably averaged around 20 disposals. She was really good. The former Pi AFLW player who could be on the radar of AFLW lists yet again. That's my club reviews of those 4 clubs, Geelong, Casey, Darebin and the Bulldogs. The other clubs will happen in the coming weeks as well. All right, let's preview the semi-final, shall we? Plain and simple. I already ranted about the stupid fixturing of these matches, but I'm going to mention them now in terms of when they are again. So we're going to preview the semi-finals with a bit of a twist, as one is elimination, one is not. So, Box Hill and Collingwood at E2U Stadium in Port Melbourne, 10:05 a.m. Victorian time on Saturday. I'll be tipping Box Hill in this one by 1 point, which would mean they would advance to the grand final and Collingwood would play the winner of North Melbourne and Williamstown. The loser of North Melbourne and Williamstown is out. I'll be going Box Hill by a point. I just think Van Berkel, Paige Price in their position. Ali McClendon will probably be back for Box Hill as well. Their skipper, key defender as well. Matilda Van Berkel, Prosser Shaw. Millie Peck and Courtney Jones have their hands full. Tally Fellows as well to have Peck. That's going to be a great matchup, though. Peck, Fellows, and Jones to have Van Berkel, Prosser Shaw, and Ali McClendon most likely as well. Gee, that's going to be great matchups there if they match up on each other. Paige Price in the ruck with Erin McKinnon. I think Paige will win that. Then you got the midfield duo of Sanger and Carbone against Cattle, Stevenson, Baldwin. Star matchups everywhere. In Box Hill's full line, you got Collingwood, Gabby Collingwood. You got Emma Stelv as well. Amy Karras-Brett on the wing with Bella Clark. Another good matchup there. So you're going to have talent everywhere in this game. Absolute talent everywhere. I'll be tipping Box Hill by a solitary point. Now, the last game on Sunday at 12:05 p.m. Victorian time on Sunday at Arden Street. It's North Melbourne over in Williamstown. North Melbourne will be angry after their loss to Collingwood. They'll thump Williamstown by 38 points and send them packing to their off-season. So, my final thoughts are simply this. If you know any VFLW players and you want to see them on the channel in a goal kicking challenge and or interview, please do send me a message or try and get something sorted. I also want to mention and congratulate and say good luck to Ash Centra, the #1 draft pick of the AFLW, who'll be making her AFLW debut this Thursday night at Icon Park against the Blues in the season opener, Season 10. Congratulations, Ash Centra, a wonderful person, and will be an absolute superstar for this competition. And well done also to Sophie McKay for the Blues, who was announced yesterday will make her AFLW debut against the Pies in that season opener as well. 2 superstars going at it in round 1. 2 great players and 2 stars of the competition already, and will be for the future 20 years in the comp. So my final thoughts also are this. Good luck this week. Simple as that. Good luck to Collingwood. Good luck to North Melbourne. Good luck to Box Hill. And may the best team win.